Good morning, everyone. How are we doing out here in the Final Cut TV land? We are back on a Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock, a little after 11 o'clock. All Siri's going to ask me for something. And we've got a lot to discuss, but mainly I want to hear your comments. Everybody out there and watching for Final Cut Pro, they've been waiting for Final Cut Pro on the iPad, waiting for Logic on the iPad, waiting for an update to Final Cut Pro. All three of those things have happened this morning. The update for Final Cut Pro is not out yet. Let me just check, make sure it's not out yet. I don't think it is. Nope, it's not out yet.
That. Could you try again?
Siri, shut up. I'm just checking here, just to make sure it didn't sneak in on us. No, it is not snuck in yet. I don't really expect Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 to be released. Well, it could be today. Who the heck knows? And we're going to talk about that. But mainly, I want to hear your comments. Let's start putting the comments up on screen. Matthew says, "What's up, everyone? They lost me at subscriptions." We are going to talk about that very specifically because I have a few comments to make about that as well. I'm not a fan of most subscriptions. LumaFusion all the way. Well, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. Absolutely. I'm not disappointed in subscription. I'm disappointed that I won't be able to use my 2018 iPad Pro that flawlessly runs LumaFusion. There you go. That's one of the issues. It sucks, Matthew. 10.6.6 is next version and not inspiring. Good comment, Eric. Good comment. We'll be talking about that. Honestly, I'm pretty saddened about the subscription model, the presence of a perpetual license, even if it's $300, something I'm more likely to consider and happy to pay for it. I don't disagree with that. Let's get through these comments first, and then we'll start talking about it. Especially when Logic Pro is already at 10.7.7. Absolutely. Yeah, M1 chip apparently needed. At least I could be able to run Logic Pro, though only a 12 needed. There you go. No one said Final Cut Pro is going to be subscription. That's correct. That would be interesting, but I don't think so. An option, perhaps. An option, perhaps, for subscription. That's Apple Press Room discloses the pricing structure of the iPad on a monthly and yearly basis. Yes, we're going to go into that right now. Let's do that first, okay? Here we go. This is the Apple Press Room. Let me hold on a second. Let me put myself on there so you can see me talking. There we go. There we go. What's going on with that? Cam link. And why isn't that there? It's ridiculous. Hold on one second, please. There we go. Fade low. Background. Okay. Here we go. Now we got it right. Back to live mode. So this is the latest news from Apple. Now, this morning, I'm going to just show this. Let me see something here. This morning, I posted on Twitter. I'm going to pull up my first post from this morning. I'm going to pull up my first post from this morning, which was 7 hours ago. All right? Where the heck did that go? Let me see. Hold on one second. This is going to take a little while. So let me do this. Graphics. Here's what we said last week when we were talking. Final Cut Pro, every year it's been talked about. Final Cut Pro on the iPad, Final Cut Pro on the iPad, Final Cut Pro on the iPad. The latest rumor was Final Cut Pro on the iPad is coming out in 2024. Well, That's like, it can come out at any time. It's what we talked about. It's exactly what we talked about. So that was not the case. This is what I posted this morning. Now, people that follow me on Twitter know that I post this occasionally. And I said, is today Tuesday? Notice the time, 7 hours ago. I said, is today Tuesday? 7 hours ago. It was not after the fact. And then I posted this. Let me pull this up. And then I posted, after that came up and I saw that the iPad was actually released, then I posted this. This one. I said, today is Tuesday. Apple brings Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro to the iPad, period. So the idea that the Final Cut Pro is coming to the iPad, as I've said all along, it's not going to really affect my workflow because I don't intend to use Final Cut Pro on the iPad when I have this fantastic M1 Max MacBook Pro. But I'm very, very happy for the people that want this. This is the point. I'm very happy for the people that want Final Cut Pro on the iPad. That's what I'm happy for. So we're going to talk about the actual what they're doing. Apparently, it's a subscription only. We're going to talk about that. Let's talk about that. Well, we might as well. Let's put a few more comments up. I'm for subscription if they are actually updating and improving. That's a good point. It's on May the 23rd. Now the subscriptions start. Only a matter of time. We're paying for Mac version. Well, I'd be surprised. Yes, I'd be surprised if they switched over to subscription only. Greetings. I'm fine with the subscriptions, especially at that price point. I am not with you on that. Here we go. Let's get these out of the way. Road transmitters, new beta can now be seen on iPad as external drive, but the new betas are just in time for iPad. That's interesting. $50 a year. Yes, that's correct. I'll stick to the Mac version. I've said it all along. I'm not going to be editing on an iPad. However, now just wait a second. I am not. I'm glad for those that want to edit on the iPad that it's finally here. I am not glad about the subscription-only model. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, LumaFusion is a bargain. $29 one time. So far, they haven't charged for any updates to it. One time, $29, single purchase price. LumaFusion is a very, very advanced NLE on the iPad. So the idea, is it affordable? Yes, it's affordable. $5 a month, use it for a month, unsubscribe for a couple of months, use it for a month, unsubscribe. I'm not going to use it. First off, I don't have an M1 iPad. That's one of the main things I don't have. And I'm not planning on buying one right now. I might. Now, the curious thing for me is this. Why, of course, iPad isn't compatible. Yes, we saw that. iPad making more sense now. Yes, but it has to be the M1, whatever. On one hand, I don't like the subscription, but I have to give Apple credit because that's dirt cheap. It's not that cheap. It's dirt cheap for a subscription. Yeah, what about Motion? What about all my plugins? I have 1,500 plugins for Final Cut. What's going to happen with those? Actor Director will be interesting to know what happened to all the third-party plugins. Will they reuse them? No, they will not. They will not be. There's a completely different way for plugins to work on the iPad than for the desktop version. So no, the plugins, I have 1,500 plugins. They won't work on the iPad version. I have 3 Thunderbolt RAID 5s. They won't work on the iPad version. They are not supported on the iPad because the RAIDs have to have a driver to work in Mac OS X and Mac OS. There's no such driver for the iPad version. LumaFusion and DaVinci Resolve together on iPad is the greatest duo. They're both great duos. So the LumaFusion is $29, one price for like years, 3 years now. I paid one price for it. That's all I paid. And it's never charged for an update. At least it shows they work in Final Cut Pro and haven't forgot. Hopefully we're surprised with future Mac version. The future Mac version is 10.6.6, which has been announced. It's not out. Where did my coffee go? It's not out, but it has been announced. I suspect, so let's go back to the page with latest news here. Let's go back to this page. Here we go. Apple brings Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro to iPad. That's what we want to see. Let's pull that up. Pro apps introduce powerful features designed for iPad to deliver ultimate blah blah blah. So it is a subscription only at this point. I'm not going to subscribe to either one. I got them on the Mac. I have a very powerful version. I've been using it for years, but I'm really glad. I'm very, very glad. Let me point this out many times. I'm glad for those that want it. I'm happy as heck for you today. I'm very happy for you. But I don't want it. I'm not going to be using Final Cut Pro on the iPad. It's not going to happen. Because each one of those, that's $10 a month. $4.99 for Final Cut Pro, $4.99 for Logic Pro. It's 2 weeks away. Available on the App Store as subscription starting May 23rd. So what about the desktop version? Okay, what about the desktop version? Where in the heck is it? I don't know if I can play this or not. For those that want it, I'm really happy for you. I'm not paying $5 a month for it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested. I have LumaFusion that I paid $29 for, and I can use that to edit on the iPad as much as I want to. That's fine. But I'm really glad for those that want it. Okay? I'm really glad. I'm really glad for those that want it. I'm very, very glad for those that want it. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not going to be editing on the iPad. I think people are going to run into frustrations right off the bat. Fast cut features with machine learning. Let's see what it says. Now, if there's going to be features on the iPad, they have to make it available on the desktop version. If the iPad version, let me get back here. If the iPad version has advanced features that the desktop version doesn't have, that's going to make people very aggravated. I know it's going to make me aggravated. I don't want to see that. I want the iPad version to go ahead of the desktop version, especially when the desktop version hasn't done anything for years. They've done very little for years. They gave us 2 features 16 months ago, and we haven't seen anything yet. Now, they have announced 10.6.6. Okay? They absolutely have announced Final Cut Pro 10.6.6. It is coming out. Don't know if it's going to have features. Hopefully, it'll have the AU validation bug fix that's due. I don't know if that's a Final Cut problem or a Mac OS problem. Let's see what we have here. On the press release, it mentions share to Mac for more advanced features like advanced tracking, advanced grading, which is interesting. Exactly. Share to Mac for more advanced features. This is what I've been saying all along. Final Cut Pro on the iPad is not going to be feature parity with Final Cut Pro on the Mac. The more advanced features are going to be on the Mac version. But I am very happy for everybody who wants Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Very, very happy for you. I'm not going to be using it. I'm not going to pay $5 a month, $50 a year to use an iPad version when I have to go to the desktop version for more advanced features. So let's do that again. Press release, it mentions share to Mac for more advanced features like advanced tracking, advanced grading, which is interesting. Yes, absolutely. The advanced features are going to be on the Mac version. I've said it all along, the iPad version is not going to be feature parity. It's not going to be as powerful as the desktop version. 80%, 85%, that's fine. If used for 10 years, that's like $500. It doesn't go up over time. It's not the price. It's not the price. I don't need it. I have the powerful version on the desktop with the advanced features that the iPad doesn't have. Why would I go backwards? We need AI transcription in Final Cut. You absolutely do. I'm sure that's coming. I don't know if it's coming in 10.6.6, but it's got to be coming. Third-party content coming soon per the webpage. Yes, but that's not the version of plugins that you've already bought for Final Cut Pro on the desktop. They are not going to port over seamlessly to the iPad. Some of those third-party plugin developers will develop new versions of their plugins for the iPad. And I can guarantee you they're going to charge for it, whether it's subscription again or they charge you for the update from the regular version. They might give you a discount. It's going to be more money for iPad versions. I think they want iPad to be used in conjunction rather than standalone. No, listen, once again, I'm glad for people that want to edit on the iPad. I don't want it. I won't be using it. Do you think Apple will consider perpetual license on the iPad if the community demands it? Let them know your feelings. Let them know your feelings. What would be a fair price? $99 for a perpetual license? Absolutely, you can make a change. But I think it'll be a success. I think it'll be a success. Most of the apps in the App Store are one-off purchases, but yes, it's exactly correct. How many are subscription for the Apple ones? ProRes RAW support now on the iPad. Hopefully the iPhone will get the option to film in ProRes RAW. Maybe with the new version. It's interesting to me that Pro Camera Mode included in that price, especially since some of the camera apps have gone subscription model. I'm not sure what Pro Camera Mode means. Pro Camera Mode. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? What Pro Camera Mode? Does that mean the iPad itself has a Pro Camera? I don't know. Hold on a second. This is important. Coffee is what makes the world go around, in my case, absolutely. I love coffee. It gets me out of bed in the morning. I think, I can get a cup of coffee. That's one of the main things that gets me going. So anyway, I'm very glad for everybody that wants Final Cut Pro on the iPad. It's finally here. Well, it'll be here May the 23rd. Logic on the iPad. I'm not paying $100 a year to use Logic on the iPad or Final Cut Pro on the iPad. That's just me. I'm happy for those that want it. I'm very, very happy that decision to bring it out has happened. Two questions about that. Why couldn't they have announced that before NAB 2 weeks ago? Why couldn't Apple have created some buzz at NAB and said that Final Cut Pro is coming to the iPad on May the 23rd prior to NAB? And created a little bit of Final Cut Pro buzz at NAB. That's question number one. Question number two is, why aren't they waiting to announce this at WWDC? May the 23rd is less than 2 weeks before WWDC. So the fact that they're making a big announcement about Final Cut Pro on the iPad less than 2 weeks before WWDC, what does that mean? Do they have bigger announcements at WWDC? Do they have a bigger announcement coming at WWDC? I'm pretty sure they're going to announce the Mac Pro, the M2 or M3 version of the Mac Pro at WWDC. At least preview it. Because they've done that every time for every Mac Pro, starting with the G3, whatever that Power Mac Pro. They announced it at WWDC. They announced the original cheese grater. They announced the upgrade to the cheese grater. They announced the 2019 Mac Pro at WWDC. They've all been announced at WWDC. So I expect The Mac Pro should be out this year, and I expect that they'll announce it at WWDC. If it's not ready, it'll come out later in the year with a new version of Final Cut Pro, and I don't mean 10.6.6. I think 10.6.6 is going to have iPad compatibility to go back and forth, or is it one direction, two directions? We don't know yet. If it has a few features thrown in, that would be great. It's got to have that AU validating bug fixed if it's a Final Cut Pro issue and not a Mac OS issue. I'm not sure if it is or not because I'm running Final Cut Pro on 10.4. I'm running Final Cut Pro on Mac OS 13.1, and I don't have the AU validation issue. I don't have it. Just yesterday, I updated all my Waves AU plugins from version 13 to version 14. Every one of them, across the board to the latest version of Waves plugins. When I started Final Cut Pro up, no problem. It validated the plugins, no stall, no nothing. But I'm on Ventura 13.1. I did not update the 13.2 because they had a bug in there with large libraries, and I did not update the Ventura 13.3 because of this AU bug. I won't. 13.1 is working fine. So that to me means that Final Cut Pro is okay. The problem was introduced with Mac OS 13.1. I'm 13.3.1, not 13.1. That's when we started seeing the problem with Final Cut Pro. Now, Final Cut Pro and the Mac OS have to handshake for sure. But is it a Final Cut Pro issue or a Mac OS issue? Don't know. Don't know. To me, since my version of Final Cut Pro, which is the same version you have, 10.6.5, is working fine in Ventura 13.1, Final Cut's working fine with Ventura 13.1. What changed? Ventura 13.3.1. That's the change. Final Cut didn't change. The Mac OS changed. That's when the problem started. Hopefully, 10.6.6, Final Cut Pro 10.6.6, which has been announced by Apple. It's not out yet, but it has been announced by Apple. It's on the iPad page. Let's go over there real quick. See if we can find that again. Here we go. Copy of this. Let's go over here. So let's go over to the page, and all the way at the bottom in the small notes, fine print, it says, let's get over there. Come on over there. Pro Mixer, yeah. Here we go. It says right here. Requires Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 or later. 10.6.6 or later. There's your official announcement that we have that Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 is coming. Now, well, hopefully it'll be out by May the 23rd. So within the next 2 weeks, let me just check here, make sure it hasn't slipped by us yet. I mean, the update could happen at any time because people are getting very aggravated with the AU bug that's been around for over a month now, and Apple has not fixed it. Apple has not fixed it yet. So that could come at any point. Absolutely, coffee all the way. Yes, web page says you need 10.6. That's correct. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe they were spooked by the rollout of Final Cut Pro at NAB, but you're making a joke, obviously. There is no Final Cut Pro rollout at NAB. It looks amazing on the iPad. They have implemented it under Radar, especially after LumaFusion just released multicam. LumaFusion is $29, one-time fee, no subscription. And I thank them specifically for that at NAB. I said, thank you for not going subscription. As an editor currently using LumaFusion and Resolve, there are currently a lot of limitations and bugs. I have confidence Final Cut Pro on the iPad will slowly become the most efficient pro level work on the iPad. Yes, but it won't be as powerful as the desktop version. That's the only thing I'm saying. Pro Camera Mode is shown on the web page. I don't know. I still don't know what it is. I don't have time to look at it. I'm doing this thing live. Pro Camera Mode, I believe, will allow the camera on the iPad to be fully able to monitor audio and white balance, etc. Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Well, I think if you have the iPhone, you'll be able to do that with the desktop version of Final Cut Pro. That's my beliefs. Let's go here for a second. Let's see what's going on here. There is the cat room. Do we see any cats? I think there's a couple cats there. Couple cats. They're waiting on the new version of Final Cut Pro for the iPad. They want the iPad version. Now, while we're here, and I'll be planning on doing a Final Cut TV and coffee on Saturday at normal time, 11 o'clock. If for some reason they sneak in Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 today, I'll come back on live if there's anything significant in there. If it's just a bug fix and compatibility with the iPad, I probably won't come back on live because we're talking about that now. We could talk about, Saturday. No joke, I was talking about the initial Final Cut. Oh, you're talking about 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Well, that was, yes, you mean the rollout. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they know they made a mistake. They know that was a big mistake. People that are there now, I don't have control over what happened 10 or 11 years ago. A lot of their team is gone, so they're not responsible for that. Let's get some more comments coming, and I'll put them back on the screen. I'll put them up on the screen. This is exciting news. This is exciting news. Like I said, this morning we had, let me see where that is. This morning I posted this. This was the first one. It's today, Tuesday. That was well before it came out. And then once it came out, I said, today is Tuesday. Apple brings Final Cut Pro plugged in to the iPad. I was the first one to announce it on Twitter. And the only one doing it live, right? I'm here live. Who else is doing anything live about it? Nobody. Just Final Cut TV. So I be here for everybody that's watching, for all the professionals. Now, what are we going to get in 10.6.6? Final Cut Pro. It has been confirmed. It's on the page. We know it's coming, so hopefully they're going to give us a few features until 10.7 comes out. Hopefully it's not just iPad compatibility and bug fixes. Well, the bug fix is needed. Apple is really, this bug fix with the AU problem with Final Cut Pro is really, it's aggravating. I won't even touch Final Cut. I won't even touch macOS 10.3.3. I won't go anywhere near it until a bug fix update has come out or Final Cut Pro is updated. I'm not sure if it's Final Cut Pro. Who knows? It seems to me Final Cut Pro works fine on 13.1. I don't have the issue. So to me, Mac OS introduced the issue. I'm pretty sure they will bring out a new version of Logic and Final Cut Pro that will also be subscription, maybe an offer that will cover both Mac. If you mean like Final Cut Pro 11 or something 11, I think there'll be an option. There could be an option. But this is the first time that Apple's done a subscription for an app, right? Are there any other apps that are subscription only for Apple? Do they want to upset the Final Cut Pro community more? The problem with Apple and the Final Cut, or Apple or the Final Cut Pro team, is they don't talk to regular editors enough. Oh, we're going to go over to Hollywood and we're going to bow down to the Hollywood editors. That's this many editors. You have 4 million, 5 million editors. Talk to the normal Final Cut Pro editors. Talk to the normal Final Cut Pro editors. We don't want subscription. We don't want subscription for Final Cut Pro. I don't care about the iPad. I'm not going to get that. I wouldn't expect much from 10.6.6, a point update. Yes, Eric, but 10.4.9 had some nice features in it. Remember? 10.4.9 had some nice features in it. 10.4.4 had a lot of nice features in it. Okay? Even 10.6.2, which came out last year in April, right before NAB, had 2 nice features in it. Both of those were point updates. All of those. I think they feel they've done enough since 2011. Yeah, they've done enough, all right. They alienate a lot of people. Indeed, no subscription. Hey, no, I maybe they'll offer a subscription option, but to go totally subscription on Final Cut Pro would just be hell to pay. We'd be hell to pay in the Final Cut Pro community, okay? That would be another big blunder that they would be making. The iPad version, whatever. I'm thinking they might even come out with a paid version for the iPad, $99 one time, because I think some of the people are going to say no. I mean, there'll be people who jump on it. That's fine. And $5 a month. Here's the thing. If I needed it, I would not pay for the yearly. I would pay, okay, I need it this month, I'll pay $5. And then I won't use it for 2 or 3 months. And I need it again, okay, I'll pay $5. That's what I do with Apple TV. I don't just let the thing run forever. Netflix is the same way. I want to watch these shows. I let them build up. I get Netflix for 1 month, catch up on everything that's there. Same with Apple TV. I get it for 1 month, and then I unsubscribe. It's simple to do with your iPhone. So that's what I expect. I think we shouldn't care too much about the version numbers. They dropped the X for a reason. The reason is it was a stupid whatever. It's ridiculous. I still think they are waiting on with 10.7 for the Mac Pro or 10 or 11, Final Cut Pro 11, or a brand new app. You know, Final Cut Pro 10 has run past 10 years. It's 11 or 12 years. I wonder if the iPad version will have scrolling timeline. Yeah, well, yes, it will. Yes, it will. Absolutely have a scrolling timeline. Guaranteed. Guaranteed it has a scrolling timeline, the iPad version. Maybe that's now, well, they'll bring it out in the Mac version after all this time. Guaranteed it will have a scrolling timeline. I don't have a problem with subscriptions based if it meant regular updates and better customer service, bring back enterprise level support for Final Cut Pro. I want the option. Okay? I want the option. I don't want the Adobe ransom model that if you stop paying, the app stops working. The version of the app you have stops working. I don't like that version of it. So it's probably the iPad version is going to be the same. Once you stop paying, it'll stop working. I don't like that model. But I have half a dozen subscriptions that I do now. But look, I don't want it for the Mac version. I don't want to see a subscription. I don't want to see a subscription only. Not just a subscription only. I would rather pay a one-time price again to last whenever it can. I'm going to keep checking the App Store just to see they sneak that in on us. Not there yet. It's better to have until we get 49-inch iPads. Yeah, that would be great. Great, absolutely. I hope Motion joins the 21st century in the next few hours, days. So that's interesting. What about Motion? You have Final Cut on the iPad. What about Motion? Now, is Motion coming to the iPad? How much are they going to charge for that? Is each one going to be $4.99? That would be ridiculous. Motion hasn't gotten any love since forever. For 10 years, Motion hasn't been updated nearly as much as Logic and Final Cut Pro. So I'm somewhat annoyed they have spent time making Final Cut Pro for their speak and spell rather than improve the Mac version. You're not the only one. You're not the only one. Now, hopefully, they have separate teams, or at least some of the teams are separate, the iPad version and the Mac version. Hopefully, they're not splitting the Final Cut Pro team that works on the Mac version. Because I'm not going to be, like I said, I'm not going to be using it, but I'm very glad that you have it. I'm very, very glad for everybody that you have the iPad version. And it's just, a little bit of excitement. But like I said, number one, why didn't they announce this prior to NAB? 2 weeks ago, they would have had it. They would have had buzz at NAB. Number two, why didn't they wait till WWDC to announce this? Does that mean something bigger is coming at WWDC? Something bigger for Final Cut Pro? Something bigger for the iPad? Well, we'll have to wait and see now. But I certainly think that the Mac Pro is going to be announced at WWDC. The M2 Mac Pro. It's really been a long time. They completely missed their timeline for transitioning Intel version over to the Mac version, to the Apple Silicon version. Completely missed that by over a year. So that was not good planning on their part. They completely missed it. So I think the Mac Pro will be shown at WWDC, which is only 2 weeks away. Let me see, 3 weeks. Today's the 9th, a little over 3 weeks. Anyway, exciting day. Today is Tuesday. I asked it on Twitter this morning before all this happened. I said, is today Tuesday? And sure enough, it is. Absolutely it is. Rumors say there will be no Mac Pro. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure what you mean. That's why what? I don't know. I think there's going to be a Mac Pro. No. If the Mac Pro is coming out in 2023, it has to be coming out. They're going to show it at WWDC. They've always shown the Mac Pro. Every new Mac Pro they've shown at WWDC. I don't expect this one to be different, unless they're completely doing something wacky or crazy that's just taking forever to get done. Well, apparently they are, because it's not out yet. So, is everybody satisfied with Final Cut Pro on the iPad? I mean, some people seem to be. Okay. My expectations have gone to the lowest level now. 10.6.6 will be a yawn. Maybe it'll just be, but at least the bug fix for the AU problem people are having and just compatibility for the iPad. But that doesn't mean that 10.6.7 or 10.6.8 or 10.7 or Final Cut Pro 11 isn't, coming out as well. AR, VR headset, they mean for WWDC, yeah, but I don't care about that either. But I hope for a Mac Pro anyways, yes, I do too. Well, I'm not going to buy one, okay? I love my MacBook Pro. I had my 2019 Mac Pro and I sold it. I'm so glad I sold it. I got just under half price for it. Just under half price. So let's see that's going on there. Let's see what's going on over here. Let's see. Can we see any cats? I can't tell. It's a little bit. Oh, yeah, there's 2 cats. I think I see 2 in the good old cat room. Good old cat room. There we have it. No, not satisfied with the subscription service model. I see, but you want it for the iPad except for that? We're never satisfied. Eric, Are you satisfied with 2 features every 16 months? Because that's all we've got since last year. We've gotten 2 features. I'm not satisfied with that. There's no way in heck I'm satisfied with that. At that rate, there'll be 10 years from now, they give us 20 new features. That would be ridiculous. The Final Cut Pro, you know, the updates to Final Cut Pro have been glacial for the last 3 years, 4 years, compared to what other companies are doing and compared to previous generations of the Final Cut Pro team. When Steve Bays was in there, they did much, much more. Many more updates for us, feature updates. So, you know, 10.5, 10.6 have been glacial in development. The pace has been just completely, it's just slowed down to a crawl. Here's my expectations. My expectations for DaVinci Resolve are up here because they do a fantastic job. But Final Cut Pro expectations are down here. So if 10.6.6 is a yawner, they'll remain down here. If maybe it'll bring it up. Maybe there'll be a couple features that'll bring it up a little bit. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to still use Final Cut Pro as my main editor, but the less Final Cut Pro is updated, the less features it has, the more I'm using DaVinci Resolve and LumaFusion. Because those two are exciting. Final Cut Pro at this point is not exciting. Porting it over to the iPad may excite some of the people. It does not excite me, other than I'm glad for the people that want it. I'm very glad for the people that want it. I hear Final Cut Pro pundits all the time. Well, they're not even Final Cut Pros. They're just little people. I don't want that feature. You want that feature. I don't want that feature. I don't want them working on that feature. I don't care about that. I want more features, more features, more features. Final Cut Pro for the iPad? Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm glad they finally got it out. People can stop speculating about it. I'm not going to be using it. I'm not going to subscribe. I'm not going to try it out. I don't want Logic. I got my MacBook Pro. But I'm glad. Once again, I'm very happy for the people that want it. I like that. I'm not a curmudgeon, Final Cut Pro curmudgeon. I can't do anything seriously on iPad as far as media production. I love the idea, but until iPad is further along, there will be a frustrating experience, unless you're used to the iPad more than the MacBook Pro. Blackmagic were able to massively improve Resolve and create an iPad version before Apple. Shameful. Well, I don't know if it's shameful. It's something's going on. No, Blackmagic is, expectations are up here. They've just done a phenomenal job over the last 2 or 3 years. So, 18.5, I love Resolve 18.5. The little bit that I've used it, I absolutely love it. I take my spit of ProRes version out of Final Cut and bring it into Resolve. Captions are just drop dead simple and Resolve. Absolutely. No plugin needed. Now, you need a studio version. So, something else I don't care about that much is the VR headset for Final Cut. I don't care about that. Got a Facebook notification you were live and I need an excuse to take a break from video editing. Haha, good to see you here. I'm dying to see a Final Cut Pro update. Keep playing with DaVinci Resolve, but keep coming back to Final Cut Pro. I'm not coming back to Final Cut Pro because I never left Final Cut Pro, but I get your sentiment, Joe. I get your sentiment. Joe is one of the people that supported me when I went to NAB. He couldn't make it to NAB, but he still bought me, I think, 5 coffees. He bought me 5 coffees, and we were set to meet up. So on Buy Me a Coffee is a place you can support me, buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. Joe was one of the first people to jump in there. For some reason, he couldn't make it to NAB, but he supported me over there, so I appreciate it. So I'm not coming back to Final Cut Pro because I'm not leaving Final Cut Pro. I'm not leaving Final Cut Pro. If Final Cut Pro, no, I'm not going to even talk about going subscription only. That would be hell to pay. That would be pure rebellion in the ranks at that point. People would drop it left and right. I would not subscribe to Final Cut Pro. I would not subscribe to it. If that was the only thing that happened, that's it. That would be the red line in the sand for me. I'm not paying a subscription for Final Cut Pro on the Mac. Would not do it. I'd use the version that I have that I paid for, and I wouldn't advance any further. I'd just jump over to Resolve. And LumaFusion. Both of them offer a one-time purchase price for professionals. Both of them are fantastic NLEs. I like them both. So anyway, at this point, no, I'm not coming back because I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving Final Cut. I have too many years in. I mean, could happen in the future, but right now, there's no plans on doing it. I like, there's too many features, even though it's old and creaky, and it's not innovative, and it's not, advancing with everybody else. Where's the text-based captions? Where's the text-based editing? Everybody's got it, but Final Cut. Final Cut's following the pack at this point with a lot of these features. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, somebody said scrolling timeline on the iPad version. Guaranteed it's a scrolling timeline on the iPad version. Guaranteed. Absolutely. It's not, the playhead's not going to scroll off the screen like the desktop version does. Where's my playhead? Oh, it's over here somewhere. It's in virtual reality somewhere. No. It's going to stay centered, and the timeline's going to scroll behind it on the iPad version. So, it's exciting, right? Tuesday, we got exciting news about Final Cut, even though it's not, some of us are not going to be getting the iPad version. The other ones will. Let's see what we have here. Avid is kind of subscription, though, Richard. I have to keep buying a Pro Tools support package, otherwise version will fall behind, so I don't think Apple will at least offer the options of. So I'm not saying that as an option. That's fine, but you don't. Does your version of Pro Tools stop working if you don't subscribe, or does it keep on working with the version that you have? See, but it doesn't make any difference. I will not do a subscription to Final Cut Pro on the Mac. If they do that, that's it for me in Final Cut Pro. We will be parting ways. I'll stick with the version that I have now that I can use. I won't subscribe to the Mac version of Final Cut Pro on the Mac version. I won't do that. So AI is danger to us all, but it's also amazing. Yes, I've seen Terminator. I know it's a problem. So here's the thing. Right now, I'm saying I wouldn't subscribe to a Mac version of Final Cut Pro. That could change depending on what kind of features they had in it, but I don't. At this point, my mindset says that I won't do it, but maybe I would. I don't think so. But all new purchases are subscription only. Avid, yes, they have. Yeah. They gave you the option last year, right? If you want to buy a perpetual license, do it before the end of the year. Didn't they do that? And look, I don't mind paying for an update here and there. I just updated my Waves plugins. Waves came out overnight and said, we're going subscription only. People were up in arms. And they completely roasted them on social media. Everywhere I looked, Waves plugins. 3 days later, they reverted back to the model they have now, which means you can buy a perpetual license, and if you want to, you can subscribe. So I would not support Waves if they went subscription only. No way. I've already paid for my plugins. I want them to continue working. There are already a few AE plugins for Premiere that can edit long-form content for you. Also, auto subscription chooses AI, but I don't like Premiere. I don't like Adobe, so that's not going to happen. And they can do that in DaVinci Resolve Beta 18.5 Studio for free. If you have the Studio license, you get subscriptions for free. Without something like Affinity, they charge you for update and you can use it again. Talking about Adobe. You're correct, but the fear is that others will follow Abbott's lead. Oh, I was unaware of that. Waves messed up massively. Yes, they did. And here's why. Give your customers, remember who customers are. Customers are the ones that pay your salaries. The customers are the ones that pay your salaries. Don't just cram something down their throats. Give them a choice. You have subscription, or you can pay a one-time price. You have subscription, or you can pay a one-time price. Okay? Give them a choice. Let them make the decision. Don't cram things down their throats. That's what I don't like. Do you think it's possible that the reason they haven't updated Desktop Final Cut Pro in a while is that they were throwing in all the resources into designing the iPad version? I hope that there's separate teams, at least some of it. I hope there's an iPad iOS version and a Mac OS version. That's what I hope. Sure, they share some resources, but hopefully they're separate teams. That's something like Crumple Pop about several plugins and don't work anymore. Yeah, I've stopped using their plugins. As far as new purchases go, like I said, I don't mind paying for an update here and there. I don't mind that. I mean, we've had Final Cut Pro for one price for all these years, and it keeps selling. It isn't like it stopped selling. It keeps selling, so. Wrong typing. Bought several plugins. Yeah. I don't buy Crumble Pop anymore. They seem to charge a lot for their updates and stuff. I'd stop buying their plugins. I have other people that I support. I like some of the Waves plugins for audio. I like them now that they've rescinded and gone back to their, model that they had before. All right, we've been on for 1 hour. Let me just check and see if Final Cut Pro has been updated. Not yet, but it will be anytime. It will be anytime. It will be anytime. Between now, certainly by May the 23rd, so within 20 days. What's today? Today's the 9th, less than 20 days, 16 days, a little over 2 weeks. Anytime will be updated, but if it has the AU bug-in fix, please get it out sooner rather than later. It's just aggravating that you're letting this bug go on, and it's affecting everybody in the professional field that's using Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro won't launch. You got to redo your plugin structure. It should have been fixed within a couple weeks. That's me talking. I'm not a developer, so. Scrubbing through Apple's iPad Final Cut Pro video. Looks like AI rotoscope object removal tool is added. Well, hopefully that's also added to the desktop version, right? They really can't make the iPad version have features, major features, that the desktop version has. They've been touting the desktop version as a pro-level app for years. It's called a Pro app. It's called a Pro app. It's not a high school version of Final Cut Pro. It's a Pro app. So, scene removal mask. Okay, well, hopefully that's coming to the Mac version. These things. I don't want to see the iPad version go up here with features that we want on the desktop version, and the desktop version is down here. No, don't want to see that. I want to see I want to see the desktop version have more features than the iPad version. And it already does, according to what somebody said, that in order to do more advanced editing or whatever, you have to go to the Mac version. We will see. We will see how that goes. For me, if I'm editing on the iPad, I'm using LumaFusion. I've already paid for it, $29. I probably got it on sale for $19 somewhere. I got the Final Cut Pro plugin, the XML export option. So we'll see. That's what I'd be using. LumaFusion for a one-time price. Final Cut Pro is twice as expensive, just for 1 year. LumaFusion's been out for years. And I did interview them at NAB, and I thanked them for not going subscription. They think they have the right feature set for the paid version. I'm just checking Final Cut Pro, make sure it's not been updated. I don't think there's any updates. We'll update that. We'll update that. Media info, numbers, ScreenFlow 10. Oh, I have all kinds of things I haven't updated for a while in this version. All righty. Any other comments before we go? LumaFusion facing went from having iPad all to itself compelling with DaVinci Resolve, and now Final Cut Pro. How do they differentiate themselves to stay relevant and complete? Well, first off, they're an advanced NLE. They've been out longer, much longer than Resolve. They're much longer than the Final Cut Pro for the iPad version. They have features that those two do not have. It's just like the desktop version. There'll be competition. Maybe one will drive the other. Maybe one will drive the other. Blah, blah. This will push this. This will push that development. It's already an extensive, powerful NLE for the iPad. So they won't focus on desktops anymore. Both iPad and Mac versions will be updated in lockstep. That means Mac slows to accommodate the iPad limited functionality. I don't think so. I think the Mac version is always going to be superior to the iPad version, at least for the time being. There has to be some compatibility between iPad OS and Mac OS, Final Cut Pro, due to the ability to create graphics with DW Pencil. Yeah, I realize there's compatibility. I know that. Not feature parity, though. You cannot use your 2018 iPad Pro. Some features are M1 specific. I think Final Cut Pro and the iPad needs an M1. I don't think some features. I think you need that just to get it. Thanks, Richard. Very interesting. Thank you for tuning in, Alan. Do you think it will be possible to go from start to delivery on an iPad for mid to pro level work, or will they make it so you feel like MacBook is needed to do great work? Well, they've already said some of the things are necessary. Some of the advanced features in Final Cut Pro are necessary on the desktop version. As they advance the M1 chips, there'll be more and more feature parity, but you're still dealing with iPad OS versus Mac OS. Now, as those two get closer together, are they going to at some point merge? Apple says no. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Mark Spencer can make a new tutorial for Motion, hopefully. The Verge is reporting you can do a one-time payment for $94.99. Now, see, this is why you tune into this podcast. $94.99, I'd be interested. But that's probably for Logic. Each one is $100. That's what I said, $99 for a one-time fee. Then I would be interested. If it's a one-time fee, I would be interested. Let's see if we can find that. Can you give me a link to that? Let me see. Let's see if I can find that. All right, here I am on the. Let's actually go here and look together. Copy. Let's do this together. Let's do this together. Save. All right. That's interesting. The Verge is weird. But here's The Verge. Let's see if we can find it together. That's interesting. What the heck's going on there? Copy of, well, let's do this instead. That's for some reason it's not working properly. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. So this is the Verge. Let's see if the feature called line drawing, Apple Pencil, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if there's 1 month trial available Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro. Okay. No, that's $94.99 is DaVinci Resolve. That's DaVinci Resolve. Not Final Cut Pro. Putting Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Yeah. So no, that's not the case. There is no one-time fee for Final Cut Pro on the iPad. That was DaVinci Resolve. Yep. Yep. It was DaVinci Resolve. That was $94.99. I read too fast. Verge mentioned Resolve and mentioned price of Resolve. I misled you. Sorry about that. No problem. No problem. I would be surprised pleasantly if they did offer a one-time purchase price of Final Cut Pro on the iPad and Logic Pro on the iPad, or a bundle. A bundle. Listen, if they're going to offer an educational bundle for Final Cut Pro and Logic and compressor and whatever, what about compressor? What about motion? Are they coming to the iPad? Or we have to go back to the desktop version for anything advanced like that? We're not going to be able to stay on the iPad version. Ain't going to happen. At least not so far. What about motion? Are they going to charge $4.99 for that a month too? And then $4.99 for a compressor on the iPad? That's, give us an option to buy it. $99 is a reasonable price to pay for a perpetual license of Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Then I would be interested. Then I would consider it. Depends on what you do with Final Cut Pro, though, right? Yes. Depends on what you do with Final Cut Pro. Anyway, we'll be back Saturday, if not sooner. Let me just check and make sure that Final Cut Pro wasn't updated. I don't think it was. Let me just check. Make sure it's not been updated yet. It's not updated yet. Final Cut Pro has not been updated. We know 10.6 is coming because Apple has announced it. Jacob Rushes, I'd like to see the EDU bundle for iPad, maybe everything for $149. Yes. Yes, one-time fee. I agree with that. I would agree with that because right now you can buy the educational version of all the Pro apps for $199. Look, I'll go back and teach college if you're going to give me a one-time purchase price of Final Cut and Logic on the iPad. But what about the other Pro apps? Are they sitting in a closet somewhere? You're not going to develop those? So. All righty. Anything else? Anything else? We're going to be back. Final Cut TV will be back on Saturday at our normal time, as it is right now anyway, on our normal time at 11 o'clock on Saturday, like we all usually are. Let's do this. Good morning. Well, it's not morning anymore. It's afternoon. We'll save that for Saturday. We will save that for Saturday, but do not forget to subscribe over there at YouTube. Richard Taylor TV. like and subscribe over there at the YouTube channel. It makes all the difference to me. London, I've been waiting for Final Cut and Logic since the M1 iPad came out. Very happy at this news. I'm happy for you. I am happy for you. Absolutely. Like Affinity, I bought the whole pack and have the iPad version also. Absolutely. Main stage will be wonderful on iPad for church organizations or live concerts. Absolutely. Good evening. Good evening to you. It's only 12 o'clock. It's only lunchtime here on the East Coast of the good old USA. But like I said, we'll be back. We'll be back on Saturday, if not before. But go over there to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. It makes a difference. Keep on the subscriptions happening over there. And listen, I do this for everybody here. You know, some of these live streams have 20 people all over the state. Everybody's just shouting and talking over top of each other, and everybody's just like the Partridge Family of Final Cut Pro stuff. This, I have guests sometimes, yes, but most of these are for you to come on and talk about what you think, what the viewers think. That's why I do these. That's why I come on every week so far. Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the thumbs up over there on YouTube. I appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe as well. Just going to check on one thing. Any more comments? Let's go. I'm going to go over there and just some of the, let me see if I can, newsroom. I'm going to see if I can get this. Well, let's watch it over here. Let's watch it over here. Here we go. So this Logic Pro to the iPad, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro, there's nothing about the future of motion or compressor on the iPad. But there seems to be some pretty cool features here so far, so we'll have to see. See, notice here it says Bob Borchers, Apple's Vice President of Worldwide Product Marketing. It's nobody from the Final Cut Pro team. This is just marketing, worldwide marketing. So that's cool. I like it. I'm glad it's there. I'm just reading this. Creators can view and edit stunning HDR video, blah, 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 blah. Let's have a few more comments. Seems iPad Final Cut Pro is to support the new AR/VR headset. That people keep talking about that I'm not going to be getting the headset, so I'm not interested in that. And I'm really not, unless something happens, I'm not planning on getting a new version of an iPad either. I'm not at this point. If I got one, it would be the iPad Pro. It would be the big model. But I'm not going to get one now. Some of the features, it looks like are supported need the M2 chip. It's the M2 version of the iPad. Where is that Final Cut Pro for the iPad? 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So what the heck is this? Video creators can shoot high-quality portrait landscape and monitor audio. You can't monitor audio now on the iPhone or the iPad when you're recording. So that's interesting. Now you're going to be able to monitor audio. There's no meters on the iPhone when you're using the camera. There's no meters. This says monitor audio. That's something that's new. And manually control settings like focus, exposure, white balance. And what about the iPhone? It's only going to be on the iPad, I guess. See, LumaFusion is also on the iPhone. You can use it on the iPhone, and I have. See, the things like this. Final Cut Pro for the iPad harnesses Apple Silicon machine learning. Well, that's on the desktop version as well. These are not features that are iPad exclusive. The only thing is touch. The only thing is touch. Well, anyway, I'm going to get off here now. We will be back. Final Cut TV will be back on Saturday. Final Cut TV and coffee. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Tyler says, any mention of Dolby Atmos mixing on the iPad? I don't think so. How was your AFI movie premiere? It was fantastic. It was standing room only. It was just really, really good. As a matter of fact, it was so good that we're going to do a second showing sometime within the next, either over the summer or the fall. We've already talked to the theater about it, and they said, yes, you can have another showing. They were very pleased with the turnout. 400 some people. I don't know if it was sold out, but it was like people were standing. So it was very, very good. That was cut on Final Cut Pro. I'm not leaving Final Cut Pro. I'm going to keep on working with Final Cut Pro for the time being, for the foreseeable future. I don't think any reason why I would leave Final Cut Pro at this point. You are the number one resource for Final Cut News. Thank you for the work you do for our community. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the comment. Thank you. I appreciate everybody. Listen, I do this for everybody out there. I want the Final Cut Pro community to be able to come in. I want them to be able to talk. Not all the people that are just gabbing. Everybody's talking over each other like the Partridge Family. That's not what I'm interested in doing. I want the community to be able to come in here and talk. All right, I'm going to get out of here, everyone. Saturday morning, we will do, let me see if I have that up here. Do I have that? Somewhere, graphics. Let me see what I have. What do I have over there? Here we go. Final Cut TV and coffee on Saturday mornings. Final Cut TV and coffee every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Tune in. Just subscribe over there to the YouTube channel, and you'll be notified when we go live. Anyway, if Final Cut Pro gets updated today, I'll come back on, because I'm already set up, ready to go. I'm just checking right now. Nothing happens yet. When Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 gets updated, I'll come back on at least for a little while, and we'll talk about that. Anyway, I'm happy for the people that want to edit on an iPad, Final Cut Pro on the iPad. I'm happy for you. I'm very happy for you. Resolve's on there. LumaFusion's been on there for years. LumaFusion is an advanced NLE on the iPad. It has features that Final Cut Pro does not have. The desktop version doesn't even have. So if I'm going to edit on the iPad at this point, I'm going to edit on LumaFusion. And you pay $129 and that's it so far. They may bring out a subscription version. Who the heck knows? But right now you don't have to. You pay for the one-time version and you're good to go. But I'm happy for everybody for the iPad version that wanted it. All right, everyone. I will talk to you all later. Thanks for tuning in.